I should have never tried swimming in the same pool where Michael, one of my classmates, drowned. Well, to be fair, so did many others at our school, but I was stupid enough to do it after classes had ended. I hid in the abandoned storage room Sarah had told me about, and once it seemed like everyone, teachers, students, and janitor, had left, I slipped through the door leading to the large room where the pool sat, waiting. It glistened with the sun's rays, and it looked so refreshing and cool. A mild anxiety built inside me as I lingered at the concrete edge. The water appeared turbulent, and it lapped almost hungrily at my feet. "Michael?" I asked. "That you?" The anxiety crept into dread territory, and I pulled back a few inches. Just staring at the translucent water, I let my hands instinctively clench into fists, thinking to myself I couldn't back out now. I'd promised Sarah I'd do this, and to be honest, I had a bit of a crush on her. "It's just water," I told myself. "There's nothing to be worried about." The smell of chlorine intensified. I hesitated for a few minutes, ignoring the cramping feeling of nervousness and fear building in my stomach. Then I jumped in. I relished the cool sensation of the water, the momentary bubbles caused by my last-minute cannonball. After a few minutes, the fear I had seemed to be washed away. I lingered in the center of the pool, scanning my surroundings, making sure Michael didn't appear, eyes floating to the water's surface like an alligator's. There was a stunning silence in the room, aside from the paddling of my limbs to keep me afloat. I loosened up even more and decided to swim a few laps while I was there. I had the courage to jump in, might as well enjoy it. So I swam to the other side, and right before I could grab the lip, I'm not sure how to describe it. Falling off the edge of the earth seems appropriate, but I don't think that's what happened. It just felt that way. I glimpsed falling off a thick surge of water, then rapidly descended into darkness. During the descent, I saw Michael. "This is what it's like to drown, Derek," Michael said. "At least in this pool. Swimming here after everyone is gone, a dare that never ends, passed on from one teenager to the next. Are you going to die here with me? I could use a friend." Michael reached for me, and I could feel something tugging at my wrist. Then I fell from the darkness to the bright blue waters. Sarah was holding on to me, pulling frantically. But someone else was pulling on me, and I looked back to see Michael's corpse doing its best to drag me underwater. I kicked, and between that and Sarah's pulling, I made it over the edge, panting desperately for air. When I looked back, Michael had gone. The waters were eerily still as I gasped for oxygen, lungs burning. Once I caught my breath, Sarah and I decided not to linger near the pool despite there not being any sign of Michael. We slipped through the window into the biology lab and practically ran to my house. We talked for a long time. Sarah let me express how frightened I was. Then it was her turn. She'd seen the same thing as me, a horrifying dead person. She'd come back because she felt guilty daring me to swim after hours. In fact, Sarah had been the one to give me the janitor's key, which unlocked a door to the pool area. I told her not to blame herself. I accepted the dare, and besides, neither one of us could predict the hair-raising scenario of Michael coming back to life. That night, I couldn't stop thinking of the place I'd gone to for several minutes. I'd seen a horrifying corpse of a former classmate, but the infinite darkness around it made me think I'd gone to a different dimension. How was that even possible? And somehow Sarah was able to grab onto my wrist at the same time. Did that mean I died and my soul temporarily traveled somewhere else? I fell asleep at some point, trying to read a history book for class the next day. Horror built in me as I realized I was in the abyss of darkness again, and Michael's corpse just sat there, dripping wet. He smiled, the skeletal contours of his face emphasized. I woke up with a scream, and I was so traumatized by the nightmare that I checked the room for him. It wasn't until I opened the closet door that I saw him again, wearing the same drenched clothes and smelling like chlorine. I slammed the door shut, took several deep breaths, then opened it again, preparing to let out another scream. But there was nothing there, yet I knew I'd seen something. I was so rattled that I called Sarah. She sounded groggy, but after hearing how scared I sounded, she woke up fairly quickly. What's wrong?" she asked. "I saw Michael again. Something's wrong." After several moments of silence, she confessed to me Michael had come to her in a nightmare. He wanted her to dare me so I'd use the pool. That way he could follow my soul back to the land of the living. I asked her how I could get rid of him if she knew a way. "There's only one way, and it's dangerous." "Anything," I replied. She said I could go to the pool again, that I could shake off his ghost in the other dimension if I was able to be pulled out before I drowned completely, like last time. But honestly, I wasn't sure if I was going to take that chance. Just thinking of the clear blue water and Michael's hand on my ankle as he tried pulling me down to where he died, I knew I couldn't go back. Dread grew inside as I conjured the image. Then something else occurred to me. Even if I found that courage to plunge into the pool again, if Sarah didn't pull me out in time, I'd suffer a fate worse than death. I'd be stuck in the other dimension with Michael, waiting for someone else to drown so I could ride on the back of a soul to the land of the living. It was a cold night. Not too cold, just chilly. I was stepping my shoes in mud as I was walking across the field beside the park. It was when I came to the end of the field that I saw her. Tall, old clothes, and eyes jet black. She seemed to not be bothered by the cold, as her clothes weren't even blowing by the wind. Her eyes were completely wide open and a smile as wide as an airplane's wing on her face. She stared at me and didn't take her eyes off of me. Creeped out by it, I tried to stay as far away from her as possible. But she just followed me. She followed me everywhere. I decided to wave at her to see what she would do, but she just kept smiling and staring. I didn't know what to say, so I just decided to turn back and go home the long way. But she followed me to the middle of the field. It became really uncomfortable, so I decided to run for it. I didn't look back until I came close to the end. To my surprise, she was sprinting right toward me with her head down and her eyes up. A 90-year-old woman sprinting right at me. I had never seen anything like it in my whole entire life. I ran and ran, shocked and surprised by what I had just witnessed. She was still running and still smiling. I ran and must have tripped on a rock as I was falling down a muddy hill. It hurt me pretty bad. I couldn't get up. Then, the strangest thing I had ever seen happened. The old woman was jumping off the hill, looking down at me, smiling, eyes wide open and with an axe swinging up in the air, about to kill me with it. I just about dodged it. I could hear the woman laughing and screaming, but I just kept running as fast as humanly possible. I thought about it for a moment, how crazy this was, and if I told anyone, would they believe me? I could see a wooden shed ahead of me. I ran for it. I thought I could come and somehow lock myself in there. She was still running for me. Panting, I opened up the door and locked it straight away. But then, there came a voice behind me. It was like daggers in my nerves, razors in my veins. It whispered, "We're safe now." As a joke, I fixed the doorbell on the inside of the front door instead of the outside of the house, for outside visitors to use. My wife didn't see the humor, but my kids had a good laugh about it. When I closed the door, my youngest child pressed the doorbell. As she pressed it, someone on the outside, a stranger, opened the door even though it was fully locked. We were all shocked. "Hello? Can I help you?" this person asked us. "Why did you ring the doorbell?" the stranger asked us, but we gave no answer as we were all shocked. "I don't like pranksters, so stop ringing the doorbell," the stranger shouted at us. I then put doorbells inside my bedroom door and did the same for my children's bedroom doors, but on the inside. When I pressed the doorbell inside my bedroom, the same stranger would open the door as if it was his house, and he shouted at me saying, "You again? Stop pressing the doorbell." My kids were also pressing the doorbell, which I built inside their bedrooms. I'll be honest, my kids were enjoying it a bit too much. They would constantly press the doorbell inside the bedroom doors, and the stranger who opened the door was getting angrier each time and started threatening us. Whenever this stranger closed the door, he would be nowhere to be seen when I went out to look for him. I made like a necklace doorbell, and my eldest child wore it around her neck. When my youngest child pressed the doorbell around my eldest child's neck, the same stranger opened up her chest like it was a door. Right, that's it. I've had it, the stranger shouted, and grabbed my youngest child and took her with him as he closed my eldest child's chest. I couldn't believe what I had witnessed. I've been trying to ring every doorbell, which I've fixed on the insides of every door in my house. This stranger isn't answering anymore. My eldest daughter then shouted that she could feel her younger sister banging against her chest inside her own body. I could feel it as well in a little scream. What have I done? This story began before I was born. This is something my dad told me. So my parents moved into an old country-like house. My sister at the time was only about 4. She would wake up in the middle of the night sometimes and go into my mom and dad's room to get into their bed. However, some nights my dad would wake up and see a little girl in Victorian clothes, which were all white, at the bottom of the bed. He would get confused and think it was my sister, ask her if it was okay, but as soon as he would blink, she would be gone. He said this happened at least 10 times, but he wasn't afraid. My parents then renovated their bedroom, and once they did, my dad said they never saw the little girl again. When he told me this story, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't believe him, and I thought he was just trying to freak me out. Now, here is the strange thing. Fast forward. I'm 21 or 22 at the time, living at home. My sister had moved out, and it's just me and my parents living there. My girlfriend at the time, now wife, was over, and we were chilling and watching Netflix or something, and I wanted to go get a drink. All the bedrooms are upstairs in the house, by the way. So I went to get a drink and some snacks for me and my wife. I paused the movie and went downstairs, leaving my wife alone in the room. My room faces the stairs, and I had left the door open. So my wife is on her phone or whatever, waiting on me to come back, and she looks around, and what does she see? A small girl in white Victorian clothes, looking down the stairs. She was startled, and as soon as she saw her, she was gone. I came back up the stairs, and we continued to watch the movie. I didn't even know anything had happened. She never told me until a few months ago. I'm now 30 and moved out, and she didn't want to tell me when I lived there because she didn't want to scare me. She never knew my dad's story when she told me her story, so I told her what he had seen. I'm not going to lie, this house always had a strange vibe, but hearing 2 stories like that just really freaks me out. Hey guys, thank you so much for being here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I can't tell you how much I do. I appreciate you, like every single one of you. I wish that I could. I wish that YouTube would show me like who subs to me, who subscribes, because I'd like to like name off every person that's subscribed to me and just like thank you guys individually, because like I really do appreciate it. But unfortunately, like it doesn't tell me every sub I get. Like it'll tell me like every 5 or 6 I get. Like every 5th or 6th sub it'll tell me, and even sometimes it's less than that. But I really appreciate every single one of you being here. And yeah. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And if you're new here, if this is the first time you're coming across my videos, subscribe if you want to see more. And yeah. So again, thank you, and I will see you guys next time.